I was born in Austin,
Okay.
but I was raised in Dallas.
Okay.
What's the coolest part about having your birthday at South Fork Ranch?
I do love that you deep dove. Just start with that. The coolest? It was all.
Because listen, I grew up, that was my parents' favorite show. Like that, and we visited it 2 or 3 times, like just to go see it. And I remember my dad like being really excited about going and seeing that. So I did find that, and I was like, I got to ask her this because this is really cool.
Yes. So I grew up watching Dallas, and in college I watched it 2 times all the way through.
Oh yeah.
And I watched the new series with my son, who's now 17, all the way.
Dynasty?
Dynasty.
Did I? No, we didn't do Dynasty.
No, Dallas and Dynasty.
Well, no, there's a new series now that's based on Dallas, but it's called something else. Yeah, I think.
Is it not? It's not because they did come out with a new Dynasty.
Maybe I got it wrong. I thought that was based on
I think they
Dallas.
did. It was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because I was thinking that's not that the old one's better.
Yeah.
Well, same for Dallas.
Yeah.
But it's still Dallas.
So,
and I mean,
how was it? What did you do? Like, what was it about?
Oh my word. Okay, so I love.
Did you get to go to the roundabout?
I love the show Dallas, and my husband and I went there. You know, it actually might have been his 50th birthday, and I threw a surprise party for him with his friends at the Egyptian Mockingbird. What was it called? So good, Italian food. And while we were there, I'm like, I'm dying to go tour this thing. Like I found out that you can go tour the Dallas South Fork Ranch. So we did, and I was there, and you can throw events there. And I'm like, what? So like my husband's like, we're gonna be here forever. So I walk up to like the table where you talk to the event people, I guess, and said, I want to have my 40th birthday party here. What are my options? They showed me all of my options, including the mansion. The original house.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you can rent the whole original house. I'm like, whoa, what? And they're like, okay, you get it all. You get free reign. We have some places that are red roped off.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you in. But a lot of it, they unrope if you do your private party there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's how it all came about. I'm like, I am having my 40th birthday party here. I'm making everybody dress like the 80s.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, that's right.
I did it.
It's got to be themed.
I know it was themed. Everybody had to come dressed like it was the 80s. And they had life-size posters of all of the characters. So you got to take pictures with them. I had a photographer. We did sparklers on the front lawn. It was amazing.
Nice.
Was it all day?
It was like 5 to 11.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It was
by 11, you had seen it. You had been a part of it.
I mean, I could have stayed longer. and we did get behind the red rope for some things. So those are not posted.
Yeah.
I'm known to break some rules.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, I think you have to, right? In order to be curious, in order to evolve, in order to get to where you are today.
To get the picture.
To get the picture. That's right.
Get the picture.
Claim the victory, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. As long as you do no harm.
Very true. Very true.
I sneak over, I take it very carefully, and then I sneak back.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. So it was amazing. And I do believe they're turning it into a residential development.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're closed yet. But if
it's been years since I've been out there, so I don't know. I mean, all that whole area out there is growing and developing, so I would imagine it's going to get kind of swallowed up maybe by.
I remember going out there as a kid because Aunt Jackie, I have an aunt. She's pretty awesome. Her husband sold rifles, handmade rifles, and then some of the cast members had they knew them, and so we got a little tour. But it was a long time ago. I don't know. It was maybe 7 or 8. And I remember seeing it on TV and walking around thinking, "Oh man, this is pretty awesome."
Yeah.
But we watched that every week. It was pretty amazing.
It's still, I mean,
the drama.
I highly recommend going back and watching it. Everything that JR says is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about these days? Like what's on the forefront?
Oh, you want to know what I'm doing in business?
What's exciting you right now about what you have coming up?
There's a lot of directions that we're excited to explore, all kind of organically.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to know what is exciting me today, I have a 24-acre farm east of the F1 track. And the intention was that we would move there whenever my son graduated from high school.
Okay.
So we bought it in 2017. And in that time, the demographics and amount of people have just exploded, which is an incredible blessing. Like you don't want to complain, although you don't really want to lose your family farm either. You know, we can go shoot guns and do everything that we want to do, ride motorcycles and everything, shoot bow and arrow. So this started to occur, and last year we just kind of said, there's no way we're going to move out there and live there permanently. And my husband was kind of sad about losing his 3,000 square foot, fully air-conditioned shop with a 1,200 square foot apartment in the mezzanine.
That he's got out there.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
It's real nice.
Yeah.
So I said, well, because we thought about selling it. And it is in the opportunity zone, but we bought it in 2017, so we can't take advantage of that. And I looked around at what was going on, who's moving here, and I said, well, let's just turn it into an RV park. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a perfect plan.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're moving towards. Then the thing that I'm excited about is to take advantage of the opportunity zone. I can only own 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So But I determined this last week, but I need to go through all the threads and make sure I'm correct. I can form an LLC and I buy into 20% of it, 80% of it to other owners, you as examples. And then it's the opportunity zone. So we go develop the RV park, we hold it for 10 years, capital gains and recapture from cost seg are gone.
Nice. Okay, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm very excited because it's going to take some heavy, deep thinking to figure it out.
Is it the programmatic deep thinking, or is it the organization of business plan and how you maneuver through those logistics that you just talked about?
It's mostly lining up loopholes in the tax code.
That's right.
Okay.
So that's it. That's
yes.
Yeah.
It's the legal and the tax code.
All right.
That's what I love to do.
So this passion and this love, where did that all start? Remind us, or just not remind us, but tell us. You know, I know that family business is a real interest that I want to dig into.
Yes.
There's a lot of history about entrepreneurial activity in your family, and you could say, and my family's real similar. You know, some children, you know, in that family or that lineage pick it up, some don't. Right. And so whenever you're growing up, how did you start evolving into who you are? And then, because we're real curious about that lineage of decisions and how do you find that directionality? Right. Is it very purposeful, which it seems like it is?
Not for me. It has not been purposeful at all. So, I grew up thinking I was going to be a lawyer. I mean, that's really thought that's what I wanted to do. Like I said, I kind of have a legal
mind. In some ways, that brain
mind.
is still there, though.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yes. The things that I have purview over, I know the law around. The tax code I have purview over, I know the code. Yesterday, I fought property taxes on a building I own in Harris County, and I know Texas property code better than that guy. Because he threw in, which was amazing. He said, well, you know, Ms. Becker, don't you understand that these tax dollars is what funds our roads and schools and everything? Which I didn't respond because that's not factual and it has nothing to do with Texas property code.
Yeah.
But I was glad he said it.
Yeah.
Because he's going from a different angle, which is not factual nor code.
Yeah.
Therefore, he will lose.
Yeah. Good point.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
So that is how I grew up. My life was a bit derailed. We moved 3 times while I was in high school. So by the last time I was a junior, I went to Austin High, and I was just kind of fed up and not really headed in any direction other than college. That was required of me. My parents, neither of them went to college. So my mom's like, you're going to college? And I said, yes, ma'am. And I didn't think much of it. So looking at somebody that is incredibly intentional. My husband, who turned 60 last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I know, he made it 60 years. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So he, 3 years old, his birthday cake is a construction cake. He knew he wanted to be a contractor. He wanted to be in construction, and he never veered, never wavered.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. Don't want to say I'm all over the place, but I will look at something and go, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll take advantage of that opportunity. Never have I thought I would like to own an RV park. This is.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I never thought that. And I don't even know if I would have ever thought to go buy land to do an RV park. It just so happened that now I have this piece of property. What I wanted to occur is gone.
Yeah.
That opportunity makes no sense. So what can I do to take advantage of what I do know? I know opportunity zones, I know 1031s, I know tax money, all of those things. So really, where I think I probably got the most direction was whenever I met and married my husband. And he was taught by Norman Reitmeyer, who is the Reit of Beck-Reit, Becker plus Reitmeyer, that you have a construction company that does government work. You take the financials and the money and you buy real estate. You have an engine and this is what you buy.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It's all about the real estate.
Yeah.
But you've got to have an engine. Not just money in the bank. That's harder to get a loan.
Yeah.
But if you have, audited financials, banks love me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, here's my financials and they're third party audited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really what set me on my direction.
Interesting.
He makes the money and I go buy buildings.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a perfect partnership.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you ever? Oh, go ahead. Do you ever get involved in the construction business though? Like, what does that look like?
Well, so we do TxDOT road and bridge repair.
Yeah.
You will not find me on the side of a highway meeting with TxDOT. It's not my expertise. That would be a bad idea for me. I think TxDOT might be a little worried also if I showed up like this. Be like, oh no. What I get involved in is more on the development side. So we will buy a building and we'll say, okay, we did it in East Austin. We've done many in East Austin. We bought an old 1960s Ferrari repair shop.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Center block building, just amazing. I mean, it was incredible. So we bought that and we gutted it and turned it into offices where I officed and then I leased out the rest. Where I came in is all the city work and site plan exemption. And I wouldn't say that I was out in the field every day managing the subcontractors. I left that to my husband.
Yeah.
I could, it's on any given morning, I can be given orders to do something. Over coffee.
Yeah.
Like it's 5:30. You need to call so-and-so because I need to get the sign for the warehouse.
Yeah.
Aye, sir. That's our mornings. Yeah. It's lovely. So I do step in when needed, but mine is more permitting, permit expediting, putting together pro formas. That's really where we work incredibly well because we are yin and yang. Okay? Yeah. When we don't work well is when we try to get in the other's purview.
Sure.
If I say this is going to lease for $24 a square foot, and I thought of this last night, the two words I cannot stand, and he doesn't say them often, but he will look at me and say, "You're wrong."
Is that a challenge?
He usually puts me on my back foot, and I think, am I wrong?
Yeah.
But then I will go do some more due diligence to come back and go, I'm not wrong. I'm right. I know I'm right. So if he stays out of my purview, then we're all good. He goes and does the construction. I take all of that. I do project what we can lease it for. What's it going to look like? When are we going to, we build and buy everything to hold forever. But I have a price on everything I own.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. So if the day comes, it will sell.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I pencil out how it's going to look into the future. He figures out this, and we stay out of each other's lane.
Yeah.
Nice.
What you talk about East Austin? How did you develop the love for East Austin? Where'd that stem from?
Again, I've not had much direction, but God has put me where I'm supposed to be. We bought our first building at 1101 East 6th in 2006. And it was really not quite luck. Networking brings us all together. And then whenever you get to know somebody, they have you in mind whenever they have an opportunity and they need you. Does that make sense? So it is more likely now that I've met you in person, the next thing that comes up that needs an architect, you're going to be top of mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You've actually been on my professional recommendation list for many years.
Thank you so much.
Because you were recommended by Scott Magic.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Scott, yeah. He actually went to the same school for a master's than I did. And it's a very small theoretical school in San Diego.
I didn't even know he had a master's.
Yeah.
Well.
I don't know how I found that out, but I did. Anyway, it was very small and not a whole lot of people come from there. So.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I respect him. And so he recommended you, and you've been just on my list for a very long time. Susan Benz had found this building 3 blocks east of I-35 in 2006, and it was falling down. It was caving in. The roof was gone. And she wanted to buy it, but the bank wouldn't sign off on her doing it by herself. Somehow Beck-Reit came into play, and we said, sure, we'll be happy. We'll be the general contractor, and then we'll take a portion of ownership. That was our first building. People thought we were crazy because East Austin had not started to boom.
Yeah.
This is a very strategic thing that we do to this day. We will buy buildings that don't make sense, don't pencil out for leasing yet.
Yeah, sure.
We'll go do the work. We move our offices in.
What do you see though to give you confidence to do that? Like, what is it? If it doesn't pencil out, if it doesn't pro forma, like, what are you seeing there that says, okay, we need to do this?
Population growth, utilities coming, what is going on in the area. Our latest one is 2.5 acres in Salado, outside the city limits. Very good. Very important.
Yeah.
We bought it in a 1031 exchange. Did not plan on doing anything with it yet. So we were just going to let it sit there. It has a little old house on it. We were going to use it as our yard. So for construction equipment, my husband will always say, if you drive by our yard and see equipment there, that's bad.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Right? We want the yard empty, but you got to have one just in case so you can maneuver everything around. So we're sitting on that. We bought it a year ago, and we are pulling water permits for our RV park in Bastrop County, and they got very delayed. All I'm going to say. Delayed by, it's been 14 months since we've been approved.
Okay.
They just haven't issued. We thought, oh my, if this is happening in Bastrop County because of the massive growth, I'm assuming that's what it is. And Elon.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
of that.
Yeah.
What if that happens in Salado? Let's turn our attention and move on this fast because it's in the ETJ. Yeah. Let's go get our water and everything right now. So we maneuvered over to that. Why I loved the land and very happy to build 25,000 square feet of warehouse on it right now is population growth.
Yeah.
Central Texas. We have wastewater 300 feet away. We're going to put in septic, but we strategically designed that. So whenever sewer gets there, we tie in and we turn that into another 5,000 square foot shop.
Yeah, nice.
So we are using it as our offices, if you will.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't lease out,
you can use it.
Oh well. It doesn't harm us, but it will lease out. But let's say it doesn't. Let's say it doesn't lease out for 2 years. Well, that's okay. We just sit there and we use it. We have the construction company, the yard, the offices, everything's fine. And whenever the growth gets there, we will be there in the middle of it, which is really what has happened in East Austin every single time. Because if you look at 1101 East 6, you will say, how did you know? Well, I mean, it was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it looks like we were incredibly smart. Today, we just took a risk. 18 years ago, and luck and everything else caught up with us.
Yeah.
So generally, we like to be in the path of progress, path of growth, or some other scenario. I bought a small building in San Antonio on West Commerce. It is on a corner. It's a center block building. It's just terrific. And San Antonio is a very stable demographic.
Mm-hmm.
People from San Antonio don't usually wake up and go, well, let's move to California.
No.
They're very familial. They've been there for generations and they stay. Yeah. And I like that population.
We've done quite a bit there. It's a different animal to tame.
It's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you provide the retailer for that stable demographic, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
It's safe.
Yeah.
So
safe,
I look at every opportunity. What am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you also don't mind being on the fringe, and because I guess what you're doing is you're developing a plan for the now, and you're waiting for the future, right? So there's some risk that you're okay with and not knowing, but you have a pretty good gut feeling that this is gonna happen, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yes, my gut is very honed in on that. I have said, I am not risk adverse and I probably take a lot more risk than most people, but it's super calculated.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt, I mean, I've seen the numbers in the projects. I have missed so much opportunity because I was I'm not sure. This is pie in the sky.
Yeah.
I like a little bit more, okay, if this ramps up slowly, it will work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's really how I judge everything. And I read or I heard, it was like a study where they had a person, and they might have done it with 20 people or 100 people. And they said, you can have this tomorrow, you can have this in 10 years. Picture yourself in 10 years. The people, 80% chose tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What they determined or proved up what other people have said is that people can't picture themselves down the road.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a knack of picturing myself down the road.
Yeah.
I have everything planned up to my funeral.
Yeah.
And
wow.
that's 80% planned. Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about those things that you had planned and they didn't go the way that you thought they would go? I'm imagining that when that happens, you found opportunity elsewhere, such as your 24 acres, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we always talk about in our office is our architect. What we do is almost like science. What you do could be like science as well. There's a list of failures that you get through in order to get to the success. And so one could say, some may give up during 100 failures at a time, but you can forecast that success in a way that gives you optimism, that gives you the spirit of keep coming back and coming back. So then ultimately you're going to find that success if you keep trying. But were some of those, did you have some of those moments where you can think back, that's a learning lesson that I found out on this one?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm very excited, and it will tie right into the RV park, because a lot of what I do every day, and this I imagine is true for y'all as well. If I do 10 things, only one is going to land.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to do all 10 as if they're going to land.
Yeah, that's right.
I have to do the 10 as if they're going to land.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's the one that I thought was a sure thing,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. And the one that was crazy, like there's no way, does.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to spread your time out, assume they're all going to land, work them each. The RV park opportunity zone came to mind because in 2016, we bought a building at Manor and Rogie Lane, East Austin.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 11,000 square foot little tiny, it's like the neighborhood retail strip center.
Yeah, great.
Just wonderful. Just wonderful.
Where's Rogie? I'm imagining where that is.
Trying to think of there's a Church's Chicken right in front of it.
Mm.
That probably doesn't. It is above Mueller, above the Mueller development.
Okay.
Mm.
78723, probably a mile east of Hanks.
Okay.
Like there's a bird flies.
All right.
So we bought that with the intention of gutting it and renovating it and leaving it as is on the piece of property, which I want to say was a half acre. All that was great until we realized, and I can't remember what the name of the roof is, but it's a 1970s roof where they lay this flat and then they pour concrete over it. Do you know what it's called?
Concrete over it?
Yeah, it's a lightweight concrete that's a couple inches thick. Yeah, over a decking, like a corrugated decking.
Yeah.
I will find out. I know you're talking. Yeah, because we cut into that before in set units. I don't know what it's called, but yes, I want to find that out.
And I have it in my notes, but I won't pull out the phone.
Yeah.
So, but the building had it had rotted over the years because it was East Austin and it had been neglected for decades. And we've determined that there was so much damage structurally to the walls and the roof that we couldn't just take the roof off and replace it. Yeah. We had to take the whole building down. Whole building had to come down. So I'm like, this is not what I penciled out. And we had a partner. So we had a friend that's a residential agent. This property had crossed his desk before it went on the market. And he knew who to call. He's like, oh, this is Russ Becker. So he called us. We bought it before it went on the market, but we had a partner. And that's not always a bad thing. Not always a bad thing, unless things don't go as planned. Yeah. And then you've got to get your partner on board. Yeah. Which is not always easy. Yeah. We knew we had to tear it down. I had Scott Magic do an amazing, I still want to build this building. It's just incredible. And it was in the opportunity zone. And this is now 2019. So the Jobs Act of that created the opportunity zone, which is you can take capital gains, put it in an opportunity zone, hold for 10 years, you sell, you pay none of that capital gains back. At the time, one of my clients was selling a building that they had probably $200,000 basis in for $5.5 million. They were going to have enormous capital gains. I said, well, you come in as partners, we'll do this opportunity zone. 18 months of research I did on the opportunity zone, and I knew I could only own 20%. So that's all the government will allow me to own. I can't just sell it to myself and take So that's how we had come to that. Lots of study, lots of research. I talked to my clients into it. They're like, this is fantastic. I go to my partner. I say, this is what we're going to do. Partner wanted a ginormous developer fee. Because, he'd heard all these syndication things. And I said, well, that's really not how this is going to work out, seeing as how my client is bringing $7 million and we're bringing the land, which absolutely has 20% value. We are 20%. We didn't agree. Yeah. So we sold it. And that is fantastic. We sold it. We made some money. Everything is fine. We 1031'd into another building. All is well. So I shelved my 18 months of research. I have 2 huge binders on this opportunity zone. Scott Magic's designs everything. And instead of feeling like I had failed or I had wasted my time, because that is my number one, like, oh no, I just wasted my time. Yeah. This is a time waster. I thought maybe this will come back someday. Yeah, something will come of it. So we have cost seg 2 buildings. Cost segregation and bonus depreciation is part of the Jobs Act as well. If you sell something that you cost segregated, you have to pay back that depreciation that was taken off. It gets added to your taxes, if you will. You don't have to send them a check, but it's added to your income on your taxes, which is the same as a check when you pay your taxes. That's a problem. I have been going through the hoops to see how I can get away from that recapture. The answer is a 1031 exchange. You can defer that recapture. Okay? So I'm going down this because I have a friend that buys car washes and then cost segs them, bonus depreciation. I'm like, maybe I need to get in on this. But then I figured out that recapture. I'm like, I don't know how to avoid it. Something was said somewhere about the opportunity zone, and that washes away the capital gains and that recapture. And I thought, there's a whole lot of people that own car washes that don't realize what's coming at them.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's when I realized I will take this opportunity zone thing that I spent 18 months on and I'll go apply it here.
Mm.
So it was never wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Never wasted. And if that doesn't work out at the RV park, it doesn't mean I might not go do another one.
Yeah, sure.
Somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that knowledge gain is key, right? Because it's never, or the knowledge gain in the fact that I know this direction didn't work out. However, I gained this knowledge and I won't go that direction again, but I'm smarter this next time, right?
Yeah.
That, I mean, simple the fact of failure is a good thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like failure.
Don't like it at the time.
Mm-mm.
At the time.
I don't
But how about 18 months later when you realize that opportunity?
I agree.
There you go.
That's how I try to look at everything. And it's knowledge. And yesterday I heard the most amazing thing about leadership. It really wasn't about decision making, but it was like critical thinking and leadership. Most executives, business owners, CIA operatives, no, I'm sorry, take that out. They don't do it by gut. That's what this talk was about. They don't do it by gut. There's a way that they get around that. Your gut is based on experience, and your gut is right 80 to 90% of the time.
That's right.
But what they said is, if that 10 to 20% is somebody's life, it's not an acceptable error.
Yeah, it's true.
What is your percentage between when you make decisions, gut and numbers, and the pro forma?
Well, since I do it over such a long period of time, I'm 100% right because time always catches it.
Yeah.
So I never pencil anything out as let's sell it in 5 years. Ever. We'll never sell it. We'll sell it in 50 years.
How do you, we've talked about this a couple of times, Jeremy and I, but how do you differ gut and emotion? Are those similar or different? Because you could say business decisions based on emotion are not particularly good decisions because they're based on emotion. But gut may be different.
Well, and maybe your emotion guides your gut. For the most part, I'm not an extremely emotional person. I know that sounds weird. I'm super calculated.
Yeah.
You want the honest truth of how I deal with emotion? Because I don't like it. I don't like emotion. I have a morning routine. I sit for an hour very early in the morning and I read the Bible and I pray and I meditate. And whenever I have an emotion that is gnawing at me, I write it out.
Yeah.
I ask for relief and I write why eating my lunch. Clients can eat my lunch. Something that's going on in the market. This is said, my kid's not doing what I want him to do. And it bothers you. And, they say it only hurts you. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Yes, because it's like eating your lunch. And I can't, and I'm trying to think of something else, do something important. And I'm like, it brings me back. I can't stand it. So I really will. I call it pray write, but you call it journal. And I write out all the ugly about it. I am mad about this. They messed up this contract and this affects me how, and and play it through. Because usually it's always about me.
Absolutely.
Always.
It always comes back.
Always comes back. And I just want to be relieved because I don't want to carry emotion around.
Something we were talking about this last week, I think, and something I've been working on is, in construction, we deal with problems. That's what it is. We have to deal with problems. And it's hard sometimes not to get emotional about it. So my kind of go forward is I'm going to try to be really unemotional with strategy and dealing with problems, but be more emotional with empathy when it comes to leading the team. Having a little, because we were talking about a podcast that we were listening to that said, well, in a business sense, you've got to wipe out all emotion. But then we talked about this for a good hour, and it's like, well, that's not probably the best. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own flavor, but I think there is a need for emotion sometimes in leadership, right?
Yeah, we both strive. Well, we both value culture, right, within 100%. Our companies. And so whenever you have that, you can make calculated decisions based on money or project or timelines or however these formulated methods come together. But then when you're dealing with the other side of it, when you're managing people, sometimes that triggers an emotional side of it that you've got to deal with, whether it's yours or theirs or whatever.
Yeah.
And so to understand the difference and to apply those values on those different situations is really helpful to talk through.
Yeah.
Right. So
I have enjoyed listening to your podcast of y'all talking about it. And whenever I read the email leadership, I'm like, I'm not a good leader because I simply do not like emotion. And I did really appreciate y'all talking about it. I think it's why your businesses are bigger. You have so many people and you get buy-in because you do give them empathy.
Yeah.
You do care. You give them to fail.
Yeah.
Why would you say you're not a good leader? Because
I would.
Leading up to this, we've interacted with a few people that said, man, she really makes an impact with everybody around her. That's leadership. So I'm just curious, why would you say you're not a good leader?
I am a wonderful leader if what you do has no impact on me.
Okay.
If you work for me and I'm a manager, I will tell you what to do. I will tell you how to do it. I do not want to follow up. If I have to follow up, that means you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm already perturbed. That is the one emotion I have.
Yeah.
Annoyance.
And yeah, sure.
So the managing is way out there for me. I think also people, right or wrong, I think they really underestimate what commercial real estate, what we do. I mean, I'm working with your money.
Yeah.
Do you care if I make a couple mistakes?
Yeah.
Right. You do.
Yeah.
You care a lot.
Yeah.
That's right.
I build what you design. I care if you got it right a lot because I'm going to own it. And that means, and I built it. So I'm liability. Like there's all of that. If you design it and you build it, I care that you got it right.
Yeah.
All of that. So I always kind of lead with that. We have to get this right. And I've had people, I had an assistant once that said, but DeLea, people make mistakes. No, not if you check it 10 times.
Yeah.
You check it 10 times, then I'll check it once and then we're good.
Yeah.
That's how things get out the door.
Yeah.
This is not a sales job.
Yeah.
This is people's money. It is their assets. It's their family wealth. It's their business, right? They put their businesses in it. It's incredibly important to them. And most everybody I work with does exactly what I do. They own a business, they buy a building, they put their business in it. Maybe they keep doing that. So I always operate from, I do it exactly how I would do it for them. And that brings them extreme value.
Yeah.
Leadership out in the world, I do believe I have that because I am very much, I put my money where my mouth is. I do not tell you to do anything that I don't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I say buy this land to do an RV park, I'm not doing this so I get a commission. I literally know this is going to work. This is a winner. And maybe it will be bad for 3 years in the next recession.
Yeah.
Right. But hold it long enough.
Yeah.
So I can lead in that way. I think I'm very good at mentoring from the standpoint of somebody can come to me and say, I've got this problem. And I say, go do this, this, and this. As long as they don't work for me, it works great. When they work for me and they don't do it and there's a problem, I'm quick to say, I told you what to do.
How many people do you have working for you?
I have 2 brokers that work for me at Beck-Reit Commercial. And then our construction company has 25 employees. My husband's much better with people.
Well, I mean, you can define lead when you ask someone what a leader is, right? If you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers. But I would imagine that the people that are under you in your companies, they follow you for a reason. They're there for a reason. They're learning. They're learning by your actions. They're learning by your commitment. They're learning by your success. All of these things they want to learn, right? And so whether you tell them how to do their job or you get perturbed if there's an error, so what? Like that's a small price for the education that you're giving them. Right?
Absolutely. And I will say, so I have Jim Roark that works for me and Michelle Anderson, and both of them absolutely understand the value that I bring. Jim Roark does quite a bit more tenant rep than I do, as in I rarely do it, but occasionally. Like if I really enjoy you, we are friends, I know you're going to do what I say when I say it, I might represent you.
Yeah.
Like if it was you and you said, DeLea, I really need to do this. And I'm like, okay, are you going to do what I say?
Right.
When I say, don't ask questions. We're going to get through this. And you said, yes, ma'am. Then I would.
All right.
So Jim and I will banter in a team meeting about a LOI that he's putting in, a lease that he's negotiating, something that's going on. And he always takes the tenant side and I take the landlord side. And he's like, but what about putting this in the lease? I'm like, I would mark that out. He's like, but it's not fair. I'm like, I don't care. Like we banter back and forth.
Yeah.
He walks away learning something. I walk away learning something. Because he'll say, but what if we put in this? And I'm like, oh, I could live with that. He's like, well, they'll like that. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
Right. So we learn a great deal from each other. Michelle came over from Pete Dwyer in Manor. And I do believe that she came over because I am well known as a woman in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be around that and learn from it and get value from it, which she has. So one of the first things I taught her, I try to teach everybody this, don't take clients that aren't realistic. Don't take them.
Sure. Yeah.
Ego, pride, right? If Torchy's Tacos calls me, well, of course I have to take Torchy's. They're so amazing. But what if they're not realistic?
Yeah.
What if they're going to waste my time?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. So we have now had 2 clients. So one of them was an older client that I had had since 2012 who had bought land in East Austin to build a building. Okay. She did not get to the end where she collected enough money to do said building and business. And she called me to sell the land. And I said, oh, I'd be happy to. Here's my high, medium, and low. And it takes me 2 weeks to price a property because I have to make a lot of calls.
Yeah.
We are we're a non-disclosure state, so there's not a lot of comps on the market, and you don't get comps from people unless you know them. I can't call Joe Bob that I've never met and ask him for a comp, but I can call Michael Bullard. Right? Him and I have a very close relationship. We talk backdoor all the time. So it takes me 2 weeks to price something. And I said, here, client A, high, medium, and low. I will take it at medium or I'll take it at low and I won't take it $1 over medium because it will be a waste of my time. If we price it medium, I'll have it under contract in 90 days and sold in 120. Maybe a little more than 120. If we price it low, I'll have it under contract in 10 days and sold by the end of the month. High, it'll be on the market at least a year, if not longer. And you won't get your price. Unless we wait 5.
Sure.
And she came back and said, I want high. And I said, well, good luck to you.
Yeah. So I don't have the time.
Right? And Michelle was working with it on me and with me. I said, Michelle, will you partner with me and help me with this land listing? And she's like, are you sure we shouldn't take it? I'm like, no. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, no, do not. No. So we walked away and there is an agent that has it. And they've been sitting on it for more than a year. Oh, and they've called me to buy it because they didn't do their due diligence to know. And then whenever I said, I thank you so much, I don't desire to buy that piece of property. I was actually, the broker that she bought it with, and she called me to list it, and I said it was too high. And she's like, oh, will you send me your pricing? What you think it's worth? No.
Yeah.
I spent 3 weeks figuring that out because land's even harder. The correct way to price land is what can you build on it? Take in construction costs. What can you lease it for at the end? And that's a complex process that most brokers don't know all the ins and outs of. So I don't give away my numbers. And also those are my comps that I got from my friends that it's all backdoor. It doesn't see the public's eye.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That reminds me, I had a mentor that I was having coffee with a few months ago, and he made the comment that he's a professional athlete when it comes to business. And I didn't, and I left that thinking, man, I should have followed up to see what he really meant by that. But I thought about that a lot over the last couple months. And so, when I think about what a professional athlete is, it's somebody that has practiced their craft and has become kind of the best in the world at that particular position or whatever else. And I thought, that's a unique view when you're thinking about business. Like, do people really practice certain things inside of that make them, maybe not the best in the world, but the best in their niche? What is that for you? Because I've heard you talk about the tax part, like that really, really well. Like, have you focused intentionally on being the best at a certain element, or what do you think that is for you?
I would say this is commercial brokerage. A professional athlete is generally the top 1%.
Yeah.
I'm in the top 1% in 1 to 5 million building, office, retail, warehouse, Austin, Texas, up to 20,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I'm not a professional at downtown buildings.
Yeah.
I can figure it out, but you shouldn't call me to sell your skyscraper. I mean, that's JLL or CBRE, not my lane, not where you want me.
When did you figure that out?
Ooh, I would say that I get very, very clear every single day.
Yeah.
As I do deals with other people that I will say are absolutely incompetent.
Mm.
And I have found that, man, I didn't realize. I kind of projected, as I think a lot of people do, that commercial real estate brokers are extremely experienced with decades of closed deals and transactions behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but that doesn't mean they know everything or even that much. A lot of them are very surface level, and that works.
Yeah.
I came up with a thing. There's experienced, and then there's an expert.
Yeah.
An expert is experienced. Mm-hmm. And experience does not equal expertise.
How do you get to the expert stage? What do you practice? What do you focus on? What do you try to tweak daily or weekly to get to that expert status?
Stay in your lane. That's very much, my husband says it, stay in your lane. We do TxDOT rotor and bridge repair. We do up to $1.5 million construction contracts. They're generally 75 days. We're in and out. We'd like to do it in 60. That's how you make money.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 3 crews and we have them going at all times.
Mm.
We don't put all of our eggs in one basket. We only do TxDOT. We only do TxDOT. We only do TxDOT. We only do TxDOT. Yep. We could go, ooh, how about we bid this shiny bauble? And we don't. That's just, I've learned it. Whoa, is that in my lane? Now, it doesn't mean that I can't spread my expertise. Opportunity Zone is learning all of that and doing a development I'm widening my road, but I'm still on the same road.
Mm-hmm.
So I very much focus on my lane. And I just took a listing 2 weeks ago, and it's land in East Austin. And I thought, this is my lane.
Yeah.
I can do this in my sleep, if you will.
Yeah.
Whereas if you call me, one of our friends is looking to buy a building in Liberty Hill. That's really not my lane.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if he was buying it for his business, then it might be something that I would want to handle. But he's just looking at everything and do. And I'm like, that's not really where I do all my business. It's not my lane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was going to buy the building, I'd make it my lane.
Yeah.
That's how I become the expert.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I say this all the time. I don't know everything. There's so much I don't know. But my tiny little box, this is, I know everything in that box.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to beat me out of my box.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It's my little playing. So welcome to my little.
That's cool.
Welcome to my tiny box.
Yeah. I'm still, interested in the trajectory of the things that you're involved with, right? In terms of the board, in terms of the different memberships, in terms of the businesses. And it seems though that those maybe they don't. I guess this is a question. Do they stay within your lane? Or are you finding these avenues because you're interested in either the people, the education, or the give back, or whatever it is, right? So there's as we begin perfecting our craft, I think our minds tend to wander in a way that allows us to fall outside of our lane, so to speak, in order to find a new thing. How do you start maneuvering in the community? Because I know you're very active. How do you begin maneuvering in our city or our community or other communities in order to keep perfecting? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. A lot of it is very strategic.
Yeah.
Very, very honed in strategy. I got my license in 2012 and I said, okay, we're going to go do commercial. I wanted nothing to do with residential. I don't have the personality for it. And it would be miserable for everybody. I really just intended to buy buildings for me. I didn't want to have emotion and other people's commentary. Yeah. But I did actually fall in love with working with people when they're the right people. It's very, very enjoyable. And also, I can't buy all the buildings that I want to buy. So if I find something and you can buy it, I'm excited. Yeah. It's it's kind of like it's mine.
Yeah, that's right.
I get to share in your building. So whenever I started, if you're a realtor, you have to be a member of a board. So residential is ABOR, Austin Board of Realtors. Yep. In Texas, we have 3 commercial boards. So we have Central Texas Commercial Association of Realtors, and it's over 26 counties. That's what I joined, and I got very active very quickly. They asked me to be on the board of directors, I think within 6 months, which I was honored. And I said, yes, but I don't know what you need me to do, but I will do this. Also, incredibly respectful people were on that board that just, heroes, amazing people. I mean, Brian Pittman that had started Independence Title was on the board, right? To get a seat next to that is really something. So I was very active on the board and I rose up. They pegged me to be president, which I was in 2019. I saw one of the ex-presidents. He was the president whenever I was put on the board in 2013. And we were joking. He's like, yeah, didn't he get you a bunch of business and just make you a bunch of money? And then we both laughed hysterically. Yeah. And I said, no, but what it did is it gave me an incredible reputation and everybody knows who I am. Yeah. And that was important to me because when I started, I was a 36-year-old white blonde girl that everybody pretty much discredited. This doesn't happen very often, and I'm very quick to correct people, but very much in the beginning, I'd say I owned a construction company with my husband. They'd go, oh, your husband owns a construction company? I'm sorry. You're trying to put me in my place. It's not how this goes. So I knew I needed to build up the reputation in the community and doing something of that caliber and showing that you put in the work, that you're here doing the thing. Sure. You're knowledgeable. You have this network. I emailed Brian Pittman Tuesday. He responded 5 minutes later. Yeah. I don't email him all the time, but that means a lot to me. I joined Commercial Real Estate Women because I put my money where my mouth is. It's an organization built for women in commercial real estate. For me not to be a member would almost be a slight. I've been a member of CCIM. I am off and on. I've taken some of the classes that I cared about what I was going to learn. I took a development class when I was doing the Opportunity Zone on Rogie. Yeah. Because there's what I know how to do, and there's textbook so I can explain it to my investors. Sure. Right? What my husband and I do is in my spreadsheet on the back of a napkin, we wing it on gut. It's not all written up pretty in a pitch deck. Yeah, sure. But when you're taking $7 million of somebody else's money, they really do want an extra level. Sure. So that's why I took...
You have to present that properly.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's fine. I can rise to that level. So I do always do the April 11th, if y'all want to sign up, CCIM Skeet Shoot.
Ooh, yeah. All right.
Very good. And so, because I do a lot of business with those brokers, I do admire the organization. I just am spread a little thin. My latest board, which is hilarious, it's a God thing. That's why it's hilarious. I go to Mount Zion Church in East Austin. It's a 150-year-old historically Black church. And I love it. It is literally heaven on earth. And one of the deacons emailed me and said, DeLea, we would like for you to apply to be on this board.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Now, it said Strategic Housing Finance Corporation. I had no idea what it was. Maybe you do. This is the fun. Oh, and my pastor Reverend Horton was copied in, and I saw finance. Okay. Church not asking me to babysit. Yes. I am happy to do service work that is in my lane. See, because usually the church is like, we'd like you to park cars.
Right.
This is not, or schools, or we'd like you to come volunteer. Can I just send you a check?
Yeah.
I'm very good at that because I respect and I'm grateful for the schools and all of the parents that do go volunteer. It's just not my lane. I'm not really good at it. So I read the email and I responded back, yes, I will do this. I had no idea what it was. I had to send in an application. And so I go to fill out the application. I'm like, what is this thing? So I start researching. I Google it. I'm Googling.
Yeah.
And it is a funding mechanism, if you will, for affordable housing.
Yeah.
The funny part is I don't do multifamily. I don't like multifamily construction. There's a lot that I'm like, oh. But clearly this is what God wants me to do. So I apply for it. I interview with the Travis County commissioners and I get put on the board. And that's what I do. We have our board meeting once a month. It's next Thursday. It's live because it's public open records. And we get presented projects and we decide if we want to partner. We come in as the GP and the general contractor, which is very interesting. Here's why. We allow, so there's about 10 of these housing finance corporation style mechanisms for Central Texas, Travis County. Because we're Strategic Housing Finance Corporation. Austin has one of their own. So if it's in Austin proper, they generally get it. If it's outside of proper, Strategic gets it. We will partner with you on your project. The reason why we're the general contractor is so that no sales tax. We're GP, so we own it and there's no property taxes. That's how then owner developer is able to reduce rents.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
I don't know that I knew about that. Mount Zion Church.
They're not involved with it. The deacon, Robert Wilmer, was on the board, and they had an open seat over some stuff that had gone on, and they were shaking things up. So he asked me to serve, and I said yes before I knew what I was doing.
That's interesting. This will have to be another conversation because this would extend probably into another hour, but we're involved with ARA, so Austin Revitalization Authority, Greg Smith, and I've been real fascinated about East Austin, the history, and their purpose is bringing African American families back to East Austin. Right, that's really so they fund small businesses, they do multifamily, they buy properties. So anything that they do, I've said we're in. Whatever you do, we're in. And so there's we're in the moment we're shortlisted on an RFP called Block 16 and 18 on East 11th Street. Right, it's an empty block behind Franklin's, and then
and it's owned by not GNDC. It's owned by
the city.
Oh,
it's city.
It's
city-owned property. GNDC.
Why don't they by neighborhood development?
No, they're the other shortlist. So it's us, and so we're in competition. Right?
Y'all. Okay, I gotcha.
We're the two teams.
Yes.
At any rate, there's a long bit of history, underground history, that I'm real fascinated about, and it's unfortunate that it has gotten political in its own way, but the sheer purpose is affordable commercial cultural arts center, affordable housing. Like it's a large project that we're one of the two, hopefully we get it. But at any rate, what you're saying I'm surprised that those two worlds haven't collided yet. And maybe they have, maybe they haven't. And I'm sure that the two people, that you're involved with and I'm involved with also understand their lanes, perhaps. But any rate, that was really not a sheer purpose or a discussion other than, I want to know more.
And I'm happy to learn with you.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So what I have found in my life, and it's why whenever I do my morning time with God, I read the Bible and I meditate. I meditate on what I read. My brain loves to claw into things. Mm-hmm. If you don't give it something to claw into, it's very upset. Yeah. And it's all over the place. But if you give it a meaty thing, like I don't understand this, but right. I understand a little bit and I start to claw in, that's really what I'm doing on the affordable housing as well.
Yeah.
How do we use government money?
Yeah.
How do we use it? Yeah. There's so many ways.
Yeah.
But it's also regulated. Like what I think is a way may not be a way. So then I got to pull back and go, okay, well, let's go at it from this way.
Yeah.
And what I've done, the thing that I'm adding to strategic right now, I've been on the board for, I think, 10 months, is construction quality.
Mm. Yeah.
Nobody's been paying attention to that.
No.
Oh, yes. So
well, that probably makes sense in that world, right?
But it doesn't make sense in the real world.
Yeah, that's right.
This is how I feel. This is how I feel about everything that I own, but especially if I'm taking government money, which is your taxpayer money, because you've got to pay more taxes to cover what didn't bring in taxes, to be clear. Mm-hmm. And I don't build it to stand for 50 years. Is that good for our clients, the people that are relying on affordability?
Yeah.
If it leaks in 5 years, if there are problems because it was inferior quality, the inspections weren't done correctly, it was thrown up to save money, that's not good. I think it's doing a disservice to that community that needs affordable housing. It is doing a disservice to the construction community. Yeah. It is doing a disservice to our city of Austin, Travis County. Another thing, clearly I'm very passionate about this one. Don't call it green if we've got to tear it down in 20 years. There is so much landfill in that. Build it right the first time.
Yeah. Well, here's another avenue that we probably talk about it for another month, and Jeremy and I have been talking about quite a bit, is the multifamily world, which you said you're not particularly interested in. It's such a broken industry because of that fact. And then you can bracket that industry in a way that you can find an opening that has not been filled. And the opening meaning that whether you're taking government or private money should make no difference, right? But there's a quality that we're not seeing in a 4 to 100 unit range. Right. And you could say that from 100 to 300 or 400, because those are all players that get money in a different way than the 4 to 100. And so there's a hole in our system, I believe, that is interesting because no one's doing it. No one's doing it well from a construction perspective. You could argue no one's doing it from a design perspective or a financial perspective. And that this infill thing that our city is missing, that a lot of cities are missing. And you can narrow it down to a sense of quality and well, I was going to say, just the sheer desire to deliver a good product, right? And I think that we're going to be seeing more of it because we are seeing now that, well, our people are moving out to Leander and all of these other cities that potentially can't get water, right? They can't get infrastructure. They can't get all these things. But what are we doing here in order to resolve this situation of housing? And I don't know. Maybe there's an avenue for you there. It sounds like you're headed that way.
I'm applying what I know. I'm applying my lane, and I believe that's why I'm meant to be there. And that's what I'm doing right now. I will say again, very planned person. I'm a very planned person. I have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D to do. Our farm is actually Plan B farms. Like if plan A doesn't work in Cuernavaca, we got plan B. Now we're working on D, C, E, F, all the way. So when people talk about, oh my gosh, we went to this Christmas party and a lot of the people were in their 50s and 60s and they kept saying, what are you going to do when you retire? And we're like, what are you talking about? I'm not retiring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will I work 60-hour weeks when I'm 80?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But I'm not going to commit to I won't. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
My plan is to somewhere around 65 to 70 dial back to 20 hours a week. And my hope and my intention is that I will go do developments that do nothing for me but give back.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I go do the construction. I'm going to take money for the construction, but I probably won't add overhead other than paying. But my knowledge comes free. I'm not going to charge a consulting fee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the development. And one of my ideas, which is why the affordable housing and how you use government money and tax strategies does very much intrigue me, is I'd really love to do let's just say it's a 5-story building. The top 4 floors are multifamily, so I can get all those things. And those people that live there, I might pick a set of people, whatever that set is. It might be senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's say it's artists, whatever that is, which I believe I can do. If I do it owned by a nonprofit, then I can dictate that. The first floor is a restaurant where those people can work. It is daycare. It is meeting rooms. I would like 12-step meeting rooms there on site. So we serve our population that lives above it.
Mm-hmm.
We're utilizing those tax breaks to fund this on the first floor that they don't pay for.
Yeah.
And here's where I came up with the idea of this restaurant. And I would love to take y'all. There's a place called Comfort Cafe in Smithville.
It was there Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's one of our favorite places to go eat breakfast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they have people in recovery that work there. Because here's what happens. If you're new in recovery, you're fresh out of prison, it is hard to get a job.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a little time to get stable on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a toddler. Yeah. You're a toddler coming out of prison, but you're a 50-year-old man and you're supposed to just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the world has changed, right? So you need a little time to get your footing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my dream. And I'll go do 2 or 10, and that'll be my retirement.
Yeah. That's cool. They've got a farm, where the recovering folks or they work on the farm and they produce, vegetables and other stuff, and that's what they use in the restaurant.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. We go there maybe once a month. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah,
so awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to take what they've done.
That's cool.
And recreate it with all the skills that I have gotten. I had this realization. Clearly, y'all have heard I am a Christ follower. I'm not pushy about it, but I am vocal about my faith. It was 2020 before the pandemic. It was January. And I was sitting down to my morning routine. And I thought to myself, God did not give me all of this experience, failures, knowledge, ability. Things have lined up all these years for me to just go get richer.
Mm.
I don't think he did. So what am I supposed to do? Because I don't think I'm supposed to just do nothing and give it all away. Well, I have this head. I've got this head.
Yeah.
I can go do these things. What if I go do these complicated things that most people don't do because they need to make money with it? Yeah. I don't need to make money with it.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm 80.
Yeah.
75. It's my retirement plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very.
I love it. I think that as we wrap this up, I think that this is going to have to be one of many different episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
Because clearly we have things to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were both excited. We were both a little bit nervous. We were.
Oh, good.
And so I think that if you would come back, that would be awesome.
I would come back because here's the funny thing. Like Robert Wilmer, Deacon Wilmer, asked me to be on that board without me knowing anything. Yeah. When I got the email that asked me to be on this, I said yes before I even knew what y'all talked about.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I knew your reputation and I wanted to be in the room with you. And that's why I started watching. I'm like, man, let's make sure what I'm going to be talking about. They might be talking about something that I have no experience in. Right?
Wow.
Deep ocean oil drilling. And I just agreed. I'm like, oh no.
There we go.
Got to sharpen up.
That maybe next time.
Well, if you want to, I can start studying.
I do have one more question that you do have experience in. I've got 3 daughters, 2 of which that are out of the house. One's married and working and has a little business, and the other one that's in college. What advice would you give me on how to support them in a really good way to go into business and really thrive and succeed? What should I be doing as a father?
Okay, number 1. Oh gosh, I have so much.
Okay.
You are the owner of your construction company.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is again. Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have other owners?
Mm-mm.
Excellent. Which one of your daughters is taking it over?
That's a great question. Probably my youngest one.
Excellent. Let's start training her right now. How old is she?
She's 15.
Wonderful. Okay. Is she taking math and science?
She is.
Excellent. She's going to go get an engineering degree. Or she can do construction management at A&M.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Do both. They have a dual
cool.
degree. They have a dual degree.
What? Oh, I didn't know that.
They do. And that's the smartest way to go because straight up architecture, no kids. You're going to do development.
That is so incredible.
Absolutely. You do the dual degree.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to go home and tell her that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, DeLea Becker said you're going to. You're going to take over this family business.
How do I help her develop the confidence to really get out there and do that?
Well, by no means does my husband sit around and tell me I'm great. In fact, he likes to withhold the compliments. He's very withholding. He's like, everybody else blows smoke up your skirt. I don't need to. Like, it's fine. I don't need you to either. I'm great. Occasionally, I do get compliments. What he has done for me, and this is so significant, is he just makes me go do it. So the biggest project in Austin that I have done single-handedly, if you will, because I did everything from managing it, leasing, well, first of all, kicking out all the tenants, and then gutting it, renovating it. We had to go through an easement process with the city of Austin. That was 18 months through the city council. So much. It was a 4-year project. Then Beck-Reit GC'd it because the bids from the other contractors were wonky and high. And my husband said, this is such a disaster of a building. It was 112 years old and crumbling. It had never been structurally done in the beginning. It was eaten up with termites. It was very, very bad shape. So it was going to be a lot of problems. So he did GC for me. When we got to the end of it, he said, which 4.5 years, he looked at me across the morning cup of coffee, like, call this person, do this. And by the way, you should be really proud of yourself. You've done something that maybe 5% of people in Austin have done.
Wow.
Well done. Yeah. And he walked away. And it meant a lot.
Yeah.
Sure.
It meant a lot. And I put that little thing in my pocket. And I'm like, I'm going to carry that with me forever. So in the beginning, though, I didn't want to do the project. He's like, just go do it. And it was very interesting. They wanted me to renovate their building. And I said, no, I have no desire to do that. And then I found out that they owned a lot of other buildings. And so my husband said, go to them and say, I will do this if I get to lease and manage all of your buildings forever. And they said, that'd be great. Why not? This is great for us. Yeah. So he made me do hard things.
Yeah.
That's why I said I would have your daughter. I put my son Crockett in advanced math whenever he's in 5th grade. He didn't want to do it. I said, you're going to do it. I'll give you a tutor. You're going to have a tutor every week. This is going to be your life. You're going to get in the habit. Hard is hard. You do hard.
That's right.
That's really, and you tell him you can do it. Not in a, oh, you're the best and you're the smartest. You can do it. She's not trying to be a WNBA basketball player where she has to be the 1% to do it. But if she goes and gets all that education, which, college teaches you a lot more than just the education you need. She could probably skip college and come work for you and get there faster.
Yeah.
But that's up to you and her.
Yeah.
But if you get her in the habit of doing hard right now, do hard, do hard, do hard. I'm sure people will disagree with me, for construction development, math and science are superior.
Yeah.
Not that I can learn to write well, but it's not the meat of what I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm strong in this can lag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to write a poem. I cannot rhyme. Failing at that. And that's really it. I don't think that I grew up being told I was limited.
Mm-hmm.
My mother ended her banking career after 35 years, and she'd gone from teller at a bank at 17 to a controller, which is like the chief operating officer, chief accounting officer. And she did all of that with 2 kids, a husband that was never home. And she went and got her degree like online, but back then they mailed it back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched my mom do it, what most people didn't do. And the most amazing thing, and I've been planning on posting it for Women's Month, my mother never complained.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything about wage gap until I got much older and out of the house. And asked, this I do love. I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, do you think there was a wage gap with you? And she's like, DeLea, I was the controller. I saw the books.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a wage gap for me. She did explain, though, that there are women that often choose jobs that offer a lot more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They need to be able to take off to take the kids to the dentist. They want to do these things, which are incredibly valuable. And I'm sure their kids end up way more successful and stable than me. I played basketball for 8 years. My mother never went to a game.
Yeah.
Right? If I got out of school at 3:30 and I didn't have a ride home that I had organized, I sat there till 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
My mom didn't leave work early. That wasn't the career that she had or the ability to do it. And she loved her job and she didn't care.
Yeah.
If she showed up late, it was never, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I say sorry to my kid. Like, I'm so sorry I'm late. And I am usually like, really late?
Yeah.
My mom's just like, let's go.
Yeah.
So that was a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
I now know as an adult, the fact of it doesn't matter if the world's not fair.
Yeah.
Go do it. Go do the hard things.
Yeah.
And the harder the thing, I'm not going to say the quicker the expert you are, but the more noticeable your expertise is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because most people give up here.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kind of get to hard and they're like, this is good. This is comfortable.
This is good enough.
Yeah.
This is good enough.
Comfort.
Right.
That's the killer.
Comfort.
Yep.
So really, that's how I'd raise my kids is we're not okay with comfort. We do hard.
Yeah.
But I will back off and say for a daughter, my son who's 17, he's like, but Mom, what if I marry a woman and we have 4 kids and she doesn't want to work? I'm like, that is fantastic. I will support that. I support women doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not telling everybody to go get in the job force. Who's going to raise the kids?
Yeah. That's hard enough.
Oh, that's terrible. It is such a hard job. It is such a hard job. Y'all don't know. So amen to the women that want to stay home and raise the kids because they are the backbone of America.
Mm-hmm.
They're raising our workforce. God bless them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So know your kid.
Yeah.
You know, if your daughter that's where she's headed, support it and fantastic. And me and your mom are here to help you. When you start having babies, we'll move in next door. Right?
Yeah.
But one of your kids, this is why I brought up family business. My grandfather started a custom harvesting business in 1947, and all of his sons worked in it, and all of his grandkids worked in it. You weren't asked if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You were not asked. There was no asking. I didn't work in it because I was the daughter. I was the grandbaby. I was the only little girl, and I wasn't required. What everybody got out of it, everybody can fix an engine, break down an engine, tear down an 18-wheeler. They can drive 18-wheelers.
Yeah.
They can load up heavy equipment. They can do hard things in the heat. 114 outside.
Yeah.
Harvest, they leave the 2 days after school in May. They get back 2 days before school starts in September back then. And they worked 18-hour days. That's what you did. And everybody was proud. Like, oh, I'm going to work for my grandfather. Like, it was this huge amount of pride that it feels like people have lost now.
Yeah.
I ask other business owners, which kid is taking over? Oh, none of my kids want to do this. What?
Mm-hmm.
So Crockett, I started this whenever he was about 7th grade. I told them, you're taking over the construction company. This is what you're doing. And if you don't want to, that's fine. Don't come home for Christmas. I don't love you. It's not that I won't love you.
That's right.
I will. It's just, if, this is how I explained it to him, if you are grateful and appreciate and respect your parents, if you are grateful that I sent you to 8 years of Camp Longhorn, if you are grateful for the 100 pairs of football cleats I bought you, if you are grateful for I didn't throw out math tutors, that was on me as my requirement, but all of the things that I have done to raise him was on the back of my husband and that construction company. So for you to say, it's not my passion, is very disrespectful to us. You don't value this? Now he has 2 outs. He can go into politics or go into the NFL. But he quit playing football his freshman year, so NFL's out. But I laid the groundwork. Also, he is very capable. He's in the hard math and the hard science, because if he weren't capable, that would be one thing. You know, if he just, if it wasn't going to suit him, if he was much more of a poet, because you're not going to go out onto a TechStot job site and be a poet with them. You've got to be, I say, a cowboy. You know, my husband carries a gun. All of our employees do, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and you know, safety from other people, safety from snakes. All of that. So you've got to be of the mindset that this is what you do. So I've raised him up that way, and
that's nice. Good.
That's what I would do. And one of your daughters can absolutely take over your business. And dominate.
Sure.
Because that's the thing. It's not a bad thing to stand out. Right. It's quite glorious. And you just own it. And the wonderful thing about it is, the more you do, the easier it gets.
The easier it is,
Yeah.
I
like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was good.
I'd love to talk to any of them.
Okay. Well, I might take you up on that. Okay.
We will go to Comfort Cafe.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
I know.
All right. It's a date.
All right.
Well, I think this was really wonderful.
Thank
you so much.
This was very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Grateful that you had me. Truly honored. And I hope that I added some value to your podcast.
As long as you come back.
Anytime.
Okay. This has to happen again.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple times.
Oh,
maybe more than a couple times.
Anytime. I mean, I'm game. I really, again, I've known your reputation for a long time. I, of course, deep dove you, enjoyed everything that I found out.
Thank you.
And whenever I listened to the episode, I'm sure a lot of episodes talk about it, but no, leadership and how you do work with your staff. Honestly, I think I was in the shower one day whenever I was listening to it, and I'm like, this is why they're good at it. And I'm not. I'm not good at that. But it's so valuable. So, I mean, I see it, and I'm so jealous. Does that make sense? Like, that's how much I respect it, and how much I know what a skill and an asset it is. And I know I don't have it. But I'm glad you do. Like, I'm happy for you also.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know. It's hard work. It is hard work. But to apply that in a business sense, right? That's what we were talking about is how do you, well, lack of better words, how do you profit from these decisions? How do you profit for going that extra mile? Is it the long game? Is it, these are real interesting things to kind of dissect and understand that some of these decisions don't necessarily pencil in a way that has cash flow relation.
Here's what I do believe it is long game. I know. Now we're going into episode 2.
Right. I know.
We can start recording.
I know. Yeah.
I know that my capacity is limited because I can't do more. If I've got a pie and this is all I can do, I'm limited to that pie. If I could raise up a number 2, my pie gets bigger. Even if it's one pie and they're a half a pie. But then what if I'm really good and I get another half a pie? Then what if I'm really good and they both get half a pie?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that is.
I do think it has to go slow because you got to make sure that half a pie can handle. Because what I have found, then it concerns me, And I will say I was super staffed up. My husband got cancer in 2019. He got prostate cancer. By the grace of God, 9 months later, it had disappeared. Again, very faithful person. I've got a lot of proof of miracles in my life that you can't explain with science.
Yeah.
I had 4 brokers working for me, 6 interns, 2 assistants. Okay. And I was president of CT Car, 650 member organization that takes a lot of time. You're hurting cats in that these are all extremely busy professional people and you need them to volunteer. Like that's, so you're like, do this. And they're like, I will do it. They'll do it. But then they,
last minute.
Okay, which you're fine with, except for if you're running the thing, you're like, this is my show and it's got to come off like I planned. So oh man, it was hilarious because I still remember pulling out of the parking lot. I fired like 4 people in a day. And the final straw was people would come into my office and they'd say, how's Russ? And I'm like, he's good. And they're like, we're thinking of him. We're praying for him. And I'm like, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. I've got this lease. Can you redline it? And I've got this and this person won't call me back. I need you to do this. And it had happened, it'd probably been happening for a month and I hadn't noticed till like this last person came in and did this to me. And I'm like, I don't work for you. This is not okay. I've got to go deal with this. This is important. Y'all's problems are not this is, and I fired or I told brokers that this was not the place for them.
Yeah.
They needed to go.
Yeah. Well,
fired 2 assistants. I'm like, this isn't working. You're creating more work for me because they were only doing like a quarter of the pie when I needed them to do half. And I had to absorb that quarter.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden my pie is now, I got 2 pies and only 1 me. And it's overwhelming. I'm going to make a mistake. That's the big one.
Yeah. It's interesting. Jeremy brought up the fact that, professional athletes and are you a professional or do you consider yourself? But oftentimes, even, most recently, I think about draft picks. Like I think about the draft, right? Because our world these days sometimes is so temporary whenever you think about staff. Right. And your point is, I think is maybe where you're getting at is you've got to find people that will stay within your lane, right? That will help you make money, that will help you succeed, that will help you do whatever it is you're in business for. And if that doesn't happen, you've got to let them go and then find someone else that does.
Yeah.
And so how do you make those? Then you're not you're bypassing this emotional state, which is particularly interested in culture, and you're making a business decision that's calculated in a way that will help you move to the next step. Right. So but I say that because I often think about, as we have bigger and more and all this stuff going on, you're placing people in the right position at the right time to allow them to excel, to allow this project to excel, to allow us to make money and get to the next step. Simply put. But there's like this. Sometimes I'll think, oh yeah, we're just like we're doing the draft. We're doing draft picks.
Yeah. Sure.
It is. And draft picks don't always work out.
That's right.
They don't always perform
you don't know.
at the top level like they did.
But then you trade.
Yeah. And sometimes the quicker you trade, the better.
Absolutely.
Well, yes. Quick to fire. And I know I'm going to get us out of here, but I will. This is how this wraps up family business in the most perfect package ever. My son, who's 17, last year he was 16, and he was being short-tempered, short-fused, disrespectful, just, instead of, yes, sir, it was what? Like you'd say something 10 times and then you'd be like, and he'd be like, I didn't hear you. We're like, well, you nodded your head. And my husband had reached the end of his patience. And he told Crockett, he said, son, you're going to be respectful to me and your mother because there's no one in the world that has your back more than us.
Boy, that's right. That is true.
It was so significant. And I went and I thought about this. family business. There's no one in the world that has my back more than my husband.
Mm-hmm. No matter what.
No one. I have made mistakes or acted inappropriately, and he has stood behind me and said, this is what I got to do. She's my wife.
Yeah.
And that's a really incredible thing that is hard to get in an employee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I said I'm risk averse, but the amazing thing is I've got this behind me. I can take more chances, a lot more chances. Because my number, we'll say he's my number 2. Husband's on number 2. He's not going to say, I don't like company culture. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I got a better job. Or I'm moving.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy an RV and hit the road.
Mm-hmm.
Or more, I mean, we had a supervisor that was, I have no doubt, going to be phenomenal. He'd been with us, I think, 6 months whenever he found out his 3-year-old had cancer.
Mm.
Devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not something you're like, what? It was, But number 2's gone. All that training, all that time, and empty hole. So mostly I've just tried to focus on what I can do. That way, if it slaps back on me, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And but it has limited my growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just decided to be okay with it.
Yeah.
But then jealous of other people that are growing.
Mm.
Sometimes grass is always greener.
Well, I'm going to cheer you on.
there you go.
I'm going to cheer you
Very
on.
good.
Well, I'd appreciate
Maybe we can learn
that.
from each other.
We will. You're in my orbit now, as Holly will explain. Once you're in it, you can't get out. Like some days you're going to be like, why is she let me go?
That's good.
But no.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you for having
thank you very
me.
much.
Absolutely.
This was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.